Hello, welcome to TrueHoop with me, Jarod Hector, and Coach David Thorpe. How are you, sir?
Today begins the quick 3-week descent into break. So it's today through Summer League. I can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel. We got some stuff to do these next few weeks, and then a little bit of freedom.
And you have a lovely family trip you're looking forward to that is going to be
I
very
do.
nice. So
I do,
hopefully that works out.
And just some free time would be nice.
Always nice. And Henry Abbott, how are you, sir?
I'm not feeling remotely breaky. I'm feeling like it's the beginning of draft day. Like it's going to be absolutely bananas. Yeah,
Crazy few weeks coming.
Yeah, there's going to be so much caffeine.
Yeah, it's NBA silly season, right? It's just trades, which have already started happening, which we'll get into right now. The league is kind of feeling like it's changing a bit, or there's a sort of idea of like, all right, if we want to build a long-term viable team that can compete for championships, what are the things we need to win, right? And for a long time, the thing was, well, if you don't have one of these apex predator wing guys, you're out of luck. Well, the Nuggets just won. They don't have an apex predator wing guy. Now they have a super awesome heliocentric sun that does literally everything that makes everyone so much better.
And a guy that can guard those apex predator wings.
Yes,
and a sharpshooting guard also.
So, there's all these. I think what we're seeing is there's always different kinds of ways to win, right? I think the talent being so spread out across the league more than it's ever been, right? I just think that now we're seeing, okay, look, from year to year, the team that wins is probably going to look slightly differently unless we get a dynastic situation happen, which, sure, I guess that could happen. Anything's possible.
Hard to pay for that.
I think so, given the new CBA and the hard cap that we have.
Well, there was never a formula, right? Like every time everyone's like, "Oh, it's 3 stars," like then the next thing is different. And it's like,
right?
No, what? It's just dumb to think
Dallas
you can make a model, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Dallas beat Miami with 1 star.
With 1 star.
Right when we thought it took 3, one star.
Yeah.
1 European.
You have to be a very good connected team, right? That plays well on both sides of the court. That generally is what's going to take to win, right? Now, last night, I don't even know what time this happened. Maybe after midnight. I don't know. Whatever. There was talk about a 3-team trade that was going to involve the Wizards, the Clippers, and the Celtics. That somehow just didn't.
Brogdon's, was it tendon? What was
elbow
it?
Tendon.
Yeah. So
elbow tendon.
The medicals for Malcolm Brogdon didn't look so good. So now instead, what we have is a 3-team trade involving the Grizzlies, the Celtics, and the Wizards. Kristaps Porzingis goes to the Boston Celtics. Tyus Jones goes to the Washington Wizards, and Marcus Smart ends up on the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, draft compensation, of course, heads over to Boston from Memphis, that being the pick this year, 25th pick this year.
Yeah, correct.
And the Golden State Warriors first-round pick that Memphis has, that's top 4 protected. Danilo Gallinari, Mike Muscala also end up on the Washington Wizards, and some other draft consideration, which, we can really talk about that. But the main thing here is that the principals being involved, that being Tyus Jones, KP, and Marcus Smart. Henry, you had a bit of a crisis of conscience when you heard this, because Marcus Smart types are your favorite types of players. Kyle Lowry's, Marcus Smart's, these, I don't know how you describe them, but just awesome fucking players who do literally everything really well, in Marcus's case, except shoot the basketball, which is probably why he's not on the Celtics anymore.
Yeah, I have rational thoughts about this, which I would like to explore more, but like my just irrational, first emotional thing. And I saw this 3:30 in the morning. This is when I learned of it on my phone. And I was like, I think the Celtics whole project is over. It's not, again, not rational. My rational mind says they've made a great trade and they'll kick everyone's ass. But it's just not been the most emotionally stable team. They don't seem to love each other that much. There's been a little Jalen wants in or out, or Tatum wasn't, whatever, trade talk. And Marcus Smart, yeah, they have a new coach, yeah, all this stuff, right? And Marcus Smart, I mean, this is maybe a dumb story for me to even extrapolate from, but in the beginning of the pandemic, I was just telling you this, when there was no vaccine, no therapy, people are dying. On this show, we were very involved in convalescent plasma. David Epstein came on the show, and there were there was a little core of people who were like, this could really work, but we need people who just recovered from COVID to donate. And to donate their plasma, which is involved.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a while. I did it. It took hours. It's like I did it a bunch of times. You have to watch a whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
And we were writing about it, and then I ended up on the phone with someone who works in the front office of the Celtics, and Marcus Smart had just recovered from COVID. He's one of the first NBA players. And he's like, yeah, just tell me, he's in Texas right now. Tell me where to go. Help connect me. He'll do it. And I'm like, well, do you know he'll do it? He's like, if it's going to help people, Marcus Smart will do it, like bar none. And which just says an infinite amount of things about what a fucking great guy he is. And he plays that way too, right? He's not, no one's perfect, but like, there was also a bunch of stuff when he had his, when he was coming out of Oklahoma State and he's on Team USA, and there was that thing in the stands. Then there were some stories that had bad character because he yelled at some guy in the stands. It turned out to be completely a misinterpretation.
Who called him a racist word, by the way?
Yeah,
right. Exactly what I remembered.
In real time, Chad Ford was really like agitating me to like write more about it because he'd been covering it very closely and knew everyone from Team USA, and they were like, "Fuck that!" They're like, he's not just a good guy. He's like the best guy. He's like the best guy we've ever had in Team USA. We love this guy. So anyway, I take it that he's an important member of what holds that team together. And Kristaps Porzingis don't have those vibes, right? To me, I'm just like, look, it might work beautifully, but they had a certain way that they were dogged and a certain way they fought together and a certain kind of Band of Brothers thing that like, feels like that's gone now.
He was the heart and soul of that team, as the Celtics said numerous times in interviews. David, when you heard about it, what did you think?
Well, first of all, Henry, are you saying that donating plasma screws up your 3-point shooting? That is the story right there.
I don't think my 2-point shooting got better. Yeah.
I have also heard similar things about Marcus Smart, and I don't remember my first thought. I saw it pretty early too, but I definitely have been thinking, okay, you have to replace that somehow. Moneyball is famous for having you had to replace, I think it was Jason Giambi in the aggregate, because you're not going to get a hitter as good as Jason Giambi. I believe that was the Moneyball story. Well, how do you replace Marcus Smart's spirit in the aggregate? You're not going to find, there's no Marcus Smart out there to get. That's done. And as Henry already said, it won't be KP. He definitely won't be doing it. So how do you do it? Denver had it. I don't know how they did it. They did it. They haven't had it always before. They've also been injured some. I think every champion finds that connectivity. That's on the coach. It's on management, ownership, and your best players. And then the other guys have to buy in their roles. So as Henry's saying, if Marcus is kind of like with spit and glue and some hammer and nails and some screws, keeping that rickety ship together, and we start seeing it falling apart, we'll kind of know why. That's one. Two, and Henry and I talked about this earlier, if Marcus Smart is 38% from three, correct, do they trade him?
Hell
First,
no.
Right. First of all, they didn't want to trade him. They wanted to
he's
trade
making way more money than he's making right now. Also,
right. Well, that's different. Then maybe they needed to trade him because they don't have. That's my son sent me. I don't want to get off this topic, but just extrapolate it. Just use this to tie in everything else, guys. But he texted me today, guys, and he wants to run an NBA team one day and isn't anywhere close ready to do that. I will tell you. He's also preparing to go to grad school. He's a young guy. He how did the Wizards get nothing for Bradley Beal? And he's like, aren't they just giving away? I said, yeah, they're just giving away. Someone else has to pay him now for a long time. The money they've taken in is much shorter money. That it made sense from that point of view. But we can't not look at this. You guys a year ago, Henry and I think it was Steve Ilardi was pushing the bonus wins.
Yeah.
If this is the story, is you can't bring in someone like, to me, DeAndre Ayton should be untradeable. Who wants to pay him that much money for what you're going to get? Right. It's just a bad deal. Unless you think you can unlock something. He's just 24. The odds of Marcus Smart suddenly becoming an elite shooter after 9 years in the league, right, much longer. And so this is a big story of what age do we say, okay, this is who these guys are as shooters necessarily, and what age do we think we can rehab them and then do we give up on them? We're going to talk about it today. There's a lot of question marks from draft processes on of how do we evaluate and project players that can't shoot.
Yeah, no, and of course today being NBA draft, it's the perfect day to talk about it because every fan, right, Henry, this is their hope day. Yes, We are one player away. And Henry wrote an article this week about be wary of the quick picks. Nobody's ever one trade or one selection away. That's not how this works.
If it's a really good team, you can be one player away from being a great team.
Right.
But if you suck, you suck, and you need to rebuild from the ground.
But you're not getting the great player in the rookie in the class anyway.
Correct.
He might be a great player.
I mean, you might, but just not going to be.
It won't be the year he comes. Is all I'm saying. Your article was about free agency and trade also. But anyone thinking, and we'll get to Victor, that any one player this class is just not understanding professional basketball.
Yeah, no, for sure. So we have an email I'm going to read from one of our True Hoop loyal listeners. His name is Ben. He's a Boston Celtics fan. Help! Diehard Celtics fan here. I am devastated at the Marcus Smart trade for Porzingis. Help me make sense of it. He's been our heart and soul for many years. He's gotten better at threes and at driving to the lane for a bucket when we need one. Good playmaker and great defense. He's only due approximately $20 million for the next 3 seasons. Whereas Porzingis, I assume, would expect a raise after his $36 million salary next year. We get some draft capital, but it's not much. This, like the Isaiah trade, just feels wrong. Feels like we are daring the basketball karma gods. I know. Sounds silly. Even more now. What do we think, Henry, about this Celtics man? Like from a money standpoint, I hear what he's saying, right? It's only approximately 20. KP is making 36 plus. So the Celtics are doing we're betting all that this year it's going to play itself up, and we're going to get ourselves back to a championship.
Yeah, I feel the same way. There's this, Porzingis had the ability to opt out of his deal. He's a top 20 NBA player at age 27 in the advanced stats this year. So, like, to me, I couldn't believe that the Wizards couldn't get more. I recognize there's like a very strange value proposition here, right? He kind of has free agency. He can kind of go where he wants. It's kind of like, LeBron chose Miami, but then the Cavs actually traded him to Miami, right? Like, it's a little bit like one of those, right? But at the same time, like, if to David's point about big salaries and, if Porzingis made $10 million a year, the Wizards would have been able to get,
oh my God,
a lot, right?
Break the bank.
Yeah. It's like, it's to me, like, this moment in the NBA has a lot of change coming. One of them is nothing to do with the CBA, which is the luxury tax commitments moving forward. We're always going to skyrocket now. And like, there aren't very many teams with the cap room, and just the total projected tax bill around the league is going to break the records every year for the foreseeable future.
Very high.
Then they made the rules worse, right? So now, like, these Bradley Beals are suddenly like, there aren't very many places left to park those big deals, right? And so Porzingis was one of these, like, he's a 27-year-old top 20 NBA player, and there aren't very many places.
Yeah.
Like for a while, they were going to get. I was making fun on Twitter of like they were going to get Marcus Morris in a bag of chips, like it ended up being a different deal, but it was around that. And like this is a mind blowing thing, right? Like Porzingis is radically devalued by the fact that he makes an appropriate salary for him. Like he's a good player. Anyway, so that's one thing. The other thing that's really like, and we've talked about this a lot, but like, okay, we watch Marcus Smart in the playoffs. He's about as good as it gets to be a non-shooting player in the NBA. He's just so great for all the reasons we've described and more. But there were a ton of plays, like in the Eastern Conference Finals, in all through the playoffs, each of the last few years, where, by no coincidence, because the defense is making this choice, the ball ends up in his hands. I think if we do this, like, they have these little ways you can measure, like, the leverage point of the game, like how valuable it is. Like, in high leverage situations, I bet he takes 50% of the Celtics shots, right? And it's just horrible to watch. Right? Like,
you'd rather have Jason Tatum taking those shots.
You sure would. And like, and if you play Derek White those minutes, then they got to come guard him, right? It's like, it's very much better for the team, which leads to this, like, okay, we're in this moment. Like, the lesson of the Nuggets championship was that you get all these big wing defenders and you put them around your stars, and that's the lesson, right? Well, this is a big wing defender, and the Celtics, well, they can play him, but they would rather play somebody who can shoot in that role.
Correct.
And now it's draft day, and we have a whole bunch of guys. My favorite guy in the draft is Anthony Black, and it's not close, right? Like, he exactly fits this profile of like a guy that, like, we hope he's going to shoot better, but it's Amin Thompson, it's Bilal Kulab. Okay, I'm learning the name.
Both Thompsons.
Both Thompsons, but Amin especially, right? Like,
he's a little bit worse, but they're both bad.
Bilal Coulibaly, Leonard Miller, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Ryan Rupert, and on, right? Like, are those guys already kind of like, do we already know too much about them? Are they already a little bit like damaged goods for the same reason that Marcus Smart is?
So, David, this is your wheelhouse, right? Player development and teaching players to shoot. First of all, how many stories do we have in the history of the NBA of guys who could not shoot that throughout their career got better at shooting? Jason Kidd, of course, is one that we can think of. Tony Parker's another I can think of. They're definitely
two great ones right there.
But if you are historically
LeBron,
LeBron as well. If you are historically,
LeBron shot 32% last year.
He's not now. Yeah, he's been in the league.
That's exactly relevant though, right? Like he etched it up for a while, which is a worry if you're drafting Anthony Black, right? Like Jason Kidd got it up there and kept it up there, which is like, okay, that affects his value in a major way. But like, if the best Anthony Black can do is have a little bit of a fluctuation up and then goes back down, like it's not quite the same thing.
I don't think any team should be looking at a player long term anymore. I just don't. You're lucky to get him to the second contract. If you can get it, and if he can learn to shoot by the time he gets a second contract, which is when you have to pay him,
so that's the question.
Right, but if we're questioning, but Jarod's asking, I just listed 7 players who can't shoot and need to learn. Mm-hmm. Like, how many out of 7 do we reasonably expect will end up being
learn how to shoot?
Like,
right,
one,
but it's not.
Right?
But that's I would say more than that. But it's not because of the player; it's because of bad coaches. With some exception, of course. Marc Gasol, Brook Lopez are 2 guys that no one ever expected. And listen, Giannis got worse as a shooter. Yeah. Giannis came in the league not bad and got way worse, even though he ascended as a player. But let's talk more about it. But I want to go back on one thing. I'm not arguing with Henry because I think Henry's repeating what he's heard. I don't think that's a lesson about Denver. Denver won a championship because the world's greatest player at center and then an unbelievable sharpshooter at guard. They played a couple of teams that matched up with them pretty well, and they played beautiful offensive basketball and were decent on defense.
No. Okay. You can't replicate Jokic. You can't replicate any of those things, right?
That's right. That's right.
If you have if you have roster spots and, mid-level exceptions, the lesson is get size in the wings. That's straight from Hollinger. Right,
but who were the size of the wings they got? Bruce Brown, 6'4". He was a point guard at Miami. That's all I'm saying. Aaron Gordon they traded for. Yeah. Genius.
KCP.
6'10". KCP. How'd they get him? Was that free agent or trade?
Trade.
That also great.
Because he was on Wizards. Monty Morris.
I think it's their last 3 draft picks, I think I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Christian Brown's like 6'5". He's not a big wing. He's a wing. Just take out big and then I'm fine. Wings, right.
Okay.
Right. And athletic
Moving
wings, too.
on.
No, I want to be sure that if we're going to be talking about this, let's be accurate. Now I understand. They got a bunch of wings, right? Not little guys and not centers.
No, but
very good point.
But it is. Look, we're talking about 3-point shooting today, right? And
right.
Okay, maybe you don't like my example, but it doesn't matter because here's why, right? Like I led a whole team of people that wrote article after article after article about how the Warriors and the Suns afforded them changed the whole league. So now defenders have to race everywhere, right? And then the next thing that happened is teams got defenders that raced everywhere. They have names like Marcus Smart, right? And so this was the move and the counter move, right? It's like now we're not going to play big lumbering guys very much anymore. Maybe one, maybe none. There used to be a whole bunch of Dale Davises in this league, right?
None of those.
Okay, so now we got people racing everywhere, which creates a little bit of a trade-off, right? Is okay, now would you sit one of those good defenders for someone who can shoot well, right?
Because you can't play the guy that can't shoot because they won't guard him.
Because these guys I just mentioned, they can race around everywhere, right? This is Anthony Black. This is everyone I mentioned fits perfectly that defensive model, but they don't fit the offensive model. So now it's we're on the razor's edge here of what's the play, right? And I think the Celtics just made a choice, right? They're we're gonna play someone who can shoot better than 34% from 3 in that spot, right?
Yeah. Right, but I'm having trouble connecting that to the draft. These are kids that really don't know what they're doing yet. As if you're a contender, I completely agree. You just can't play guys that no one has to guard, even if they're elite defenders, unless you're so good in the other 4 spots offensively. And that is not easy to manufacture an offense when there's 5 guys defending 4. That is not easy to do unless the non-shooter is a big and you at least put in the dunk spot. It still doesn't make it easy. And by the way, the league has got to be cursing the Rudy Gobert deal once. That's the last time you'll see an overpaid player get how many draft picks did they send?
Changing topics.
No.
This is too hard. We have a lot to talk about.
You got a quiz.
I was just saying, we're not going to see any of those anymore. Like that, the deals we're seeing are Beal and KP. We're not going to see this. Durant got traded for a lot less.
So David, today,
see that.
a rookie 30 rookies are going to get drafted. Well, more than that.
Right.
But
Most of them
first round,
Most of them aren't good shooters.
30. Right. Okay.
Right.
So you have to decide by year 3, probably, or 4, if you're going to give them the second contract.
You have to extend them if you're going to extend them. I think it's October going into their third season. So early.
If they have not learned to shoot by that point,
Right.
can they learn on this? Do you make the second move? It's seeming like probably not. Right.
So I understand why you're asking that question. That's the wrong question. But everyone asks the same question you're asking. Henry and I talked about this earlier. It's not the player. Mostly.
It doesn't matter.
There are players that can't learn, but most of them just are not being taught right.
Right, but David, that doesn't matter.
Here's the reality, right?
It's
There aren't enough good coaches in the league right now to make them
it doesn't
be
matter.
good.
Today's
They're
the
stuck
day
where
we
they
pick
are.
players. That's all we can do. We can't pick shooting coaches today. We're picking players today, right? So like,
he asked me though, do we not extend them after 2 years if they can't shoot? Maybe, but someone else may get them and get themselves a gem of a player.
But we have to actually make those decisions, right?
So you're suggesting don't. So remember my theory: 80% athletes, 80% shooters. I'm all in on that, but I don't care what position they play. I want great athletes. I want great shooters at 4 or 5 spots. But if you guys are saying don't draft the athletes if they can't shoot, I mean, if that's your argument, I'm happy to have the argument.
No, that's the topic.
Right.
That's what we're trying to get you to talk about, right? Like,
right.
But here's the so like I remember very clearly when Michael Kidd-Gilchrist was in the draft. He was an amazing athlete, had great
everything,
size,
checked every box for shooting.
Couldn't shoot. Right?
Great guy too.
You could not have been more adamant that any team would have been absolutely flaming dumb shits to pick that guy. You were
especially over Bradley Beal.
But also
that's who went third.
Right? So to me, okay, what's the lesson? Does it apply to anyone else? Like, how much of a discount do we give for this shortcoming? Right? Yeah. It's a big one, right? Like the Celtics are proving to us. Like I hear you that these players might not be with their teams when they're contending, but they also might, because it's like the only fucking way you contend is if you get someone good in the draft, right? So like if you get Amen Thompson and he's an almost Giannis-like athlete, right? Like if you get Amen Thompson and he's already doomed because of his shooting, then what an incredible, profound error for the future of your team, right? Like it could be that today the Rockets learned they will never win a championship because they made this one mistake, right? Or it could be that there are lots of players who don't shoot super well from 3 who win championships, and there's a way to do that, right? So we're kind of trying to explore that is like how much doom is there in drafting one of these excellent players who just cannot shoot.
Well, first of all, Giannis won a couple of years ago, and he can't shoot. Again, he's a very special exception. I understand. Jimmy Butler's been to 2 finals.
Remind me to kill you later, David.
Why? What I do wrong?
No, I feel like you just want to fight. Like I'm like,
no. I was
was
agreeing with you that he is the one-off. I'm just saying Jimmy Butler's been in 2. Jimmy Butler's been in 2 finals. No one ever called him a great shooter. He is great at everything else. But I do reject this premise is that we know these guys can't shoot because they can't shoot when they're 18 or 19. That I don't believe is a fair assessment.
Nobody's saying that. Literally nobody has said that.
Then I don't have a problem with drafting Anthony Black.
So I can tell you. I can tell you from the past. Like there was I think it's changed now. But some time ago in the early days of advanced stats, someone did a big research on improvement once you get into the NBA.
Yeah, I remember you telling about this.
There's very little of it, which is no surprise. 3-point shooting is the most likely thing to improve. But as I recall, and I'm sorry I didn't look it up, I didn't know we were going to come to it, but I think it's less than 5% of players have a significant jump in 3-point shooting after they enter the league. So we rattled off some names earlier, but if you just play the numbers out, when we mentioned those 7 players earlier, it might be 1, right? So what we're doing here is playing a predict the future numbers odds game, right? Of course, Amen Thompson could become amazing, but I guess the question is in the most likely scenario where he doesn't, right? Those scenarios he gets a little bit of incremental improvement over a few years and then tails off as he gets older, right? And then he becomes less of an athlete, right? On that course, is that so damning to the Rockets' odds, assuming they take him, that he's almost like Marcus Smart to the Celtics, where here's the anchor that keeps your team from ever flying, right? It could be, right? It's possible. Should you just assemble your team? If you want to have 80% shooters, should you assemble your team so that you get players who you already know can shoot.
You go shooting
80% of the time
first, right? Yeah.
Or can you take in some the Grizzlies? I would think right now have like 5-6 guys who can't shoot. The Sixers, when they were tanking, would get good players who couldn't shoot specifically, right? Like, well, because two things happen, right? One is you lose.
Mm-hmm.
Two is if they get good at shooting, they're amazing,
right?
But most of them don't. So I guess that we have to kind of like, to me, it's a giant question for draft fans today, which is like what do we make of Anthony Black? Like, do you feel good as an organization if you're betting the future on him?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, I love Anthony Black. I understand why you do too. He is a breath of fresh air in so many ways on the court. Apparently he's great off the court too, which matters. I see it from the lens of the league. To me, is full of guys that have gotten me better at shooting. I don't know what this. I remember Henry telling me a stat years ago. I think the game has changed a lot, but I also shooting isn't the kind of thing where just ascends. Because remember, as you get more responsibility, like for example, Devin Booker was, I think, maybe 33, 34% as a rookie. As he got to 38% and was the best scorer in his team, but now defenses swarm him and shot selection, he gets tougher, all that kind of stuff. I think people think Devin Booker's a good shooter. He's not an elite shooter, though. But you have a lot of that. I think guys can get much better at shooting. And I think if we're only drafting ready-made players, we're going to lose the one-and-dones. And we're back to just the 3-4-year college players because we know what they look like at that point. We can easily project it, I think it's a balance, guys. I think it's a balance in selection of the player as well as what you're doing internally, developmentally for that guy as well. And it's on the player too, by the way, to work hard and do the right things in the offseason, whatever. Anthony, you also have to figure out ways to take advantage of a player. Anthony Black is unique. And I realize Henry's just a placeholder for you. How tall? I think 6'7", big dude, right? Big guard, Anthony Black. When you say Henry, tall, like he's not a little guy.
He's not little, no. But
yeah, he's like he could do some bully ball at the guard. Like you got to be creative with your guys. I don't want to lose the big point because I'm not trying to be belligerent. I agree that we should be thinking about these things, how we structure our team, how we build our team systemically in terms of strategy, and then these players have to recognize. And I'm already texting players like, if you don't keep getting better at these skills, especially shooting, your value just isn't what it needs to be. And it's all right. I had to tell a couple guys, fellas, they traded Chris Paul and Marcus Smart, and they didn't know about it. Like, if you don't think you can be traded, you're sleeping.
Yeah.
There is no loyalty. I said, Henry, I was just telling Jarod, I had to tell a couple of young guys who think they're going to be on their teams forever. Like, you're just an okay player as a young player. Chris Paul and Marcus Smart didn't even know they were being traded. Like, you think they'll keep blink? Henry joked about potato chips. That's pretty much what they see you as. Bag of potato chips until you reach a certain level. There's no loyalty. And I'm not even mad at the teams for doing that. I understand where they're coming from, although they probably can handle it better. I think Chris Paul said he learned the trade from his son. That's not ideal.
Probably not. And
that's not ideal.
We can talk about it another time, how Isaiah Thomas, Zeke, Hall of Famer Isaiah Thomas, is kind of the shadow GM.
Yeah, that was weird too. But just to finish the point, drafting, listen, we've talked about curb your enthusiasm. These guys that can't shoot, it is a gigantic ceiling getting lower every year. They don't prove that they can make shots. And they've got to do it in the regular season. And when your team finally gets good enough for the postseason, you better do it then too. Or you could be the next Marcus Smart.
All right,
and that, to me, is a very big point.
Cade Cunningham, 28%.
He's played like 11 games. He was a very good shooter. Paolo wasn't.
Paolo, 29%. Scotty Barnes, 28%. De'Aaron Fox, 32%. Pascal Siakam, 32%. John Morant, 31%. Trae Young, 34%. Evan Mobley, 22%. That doesn't matter so much, but Bam, 8%. Like, is that a...
Those guys won a lot of games, too. Almost all of them, not all of them. It's absolutely... Cade Cunningham was a very good shooter at Oklahoma State. He's barely played. Some of the other guys don't have that excuse. They absolutely have a lower ceiling unless they figure it out.
We did a look, David, at the top 10 in EPM this past season, and half of the top 10, so 5 of the top 10 players, would we consider not good three-point shooters. It was LeBron. Joel
What's that number, by the way? What would you say? We've not
if you're 30, I mean, I'm probably being a little greedy.
I was saying 36.
If you're 35% and below, you're not a good 3-point shooter.
So
we agree.
Embiid 33, Jimmy 35, Luka 34, Giannis 28, LeBron 32.
Yeah, all those guys I would say are below the line. Yeah,
and so it's interesting when you look at that, right? So to your point about, are you making a mistake on draft day? So much of it is about, okay, 80% shooting, 80% athletes. Like, what is your construction like? What are the moves that you're making? This was the Oklahoma City Thunder's draft in 3 consecutive years: 07, 08, 09. Durant, Westbrook, Harden. Now, fucking 3 MVPs. Like, that's just. Like,
do that.
I mean,
that's good strategy right there.
Sure. 3 consecutive years I drafted MVP. Like,
although to be fair, Harden was no MVP when he was there.
He was not, and
he had to go somewhere else.
And I would argue, as I think most of you would agree with me, Westbrook was not the MVP worthy that year.
Correct, but he was an All NBA level player.
Correct.
Harden was a 6 man.
So drafting Westbrook, who could not shoot and still cannot shoot.
Correct, and still does shoot. Which is Marcus Smart's problem.
Yes,
that's one of the other corollaries, right?
Yes,
like
they're not good shooters, yet they shoot a lot anyway. But that managed to work out well because you drafted elite shooting before and after him, and you had some picks-ups, right? So you're a guy who used a bunch of possessions and was a very ball dominant. Okay, right? Because he's an uber athlete, does all this other stuff great. But I got Kevin Durant, I got James Harden, I got Serge Ibaka, I got this dude off the bench who can. So it makes sense and it works. So you can do it and not worry about a guy developing into that elite shooter if, and that's a big if, the rest of your roster and your development is good. But how do you know that?
But we keep saying that. And I think that's what I'm questioning is like Giannis won title as a terrible 3-point shooter. Like
Chris Middleton was not that year, though. So
most players that we talk about who we say, oh, they're really good. Like they're not in the finals. Sure. And I'm wondering how, would they be if they shot 36% from 3?
Right? They'd be better.
They'd be better. And I'm wondering, this is where I'm like, maybe it is an anchor, right? Like maybe, I mean, everyone, we just shrug and be like, oh, like Julius Randle's fucking amazing. It's like, yeah, but he also
can't
sucks, shoot. Compared to making it to the finals, right? Like, and I don't know. It's like, to me, I'm like, maybe we were giving a little bit of a pass to he's well-rounded, you can work, blah, blah. It's like, no, this LeBron without shooting.
So are you making it a binary, Henry? So if the draft's coming and you've got players in your available pool and you're like, okay, these are guys that we like, is your thought process, okay, go for the shooter first?
I mean, this year it's just what are you gonna do? It's just fucking dirty dick.
Yeah, you have no choice this year.
No. There's Brandon Miller's going number 2.
There's only one Grady Dick. Is the
Listen, David, you mentioned me in your article, like tall dudes who can shoot. Like, why is that bad? Having tall dudes who can shoot, that's a good thing.
Brandon Miller, I think, has a chance to be an elite shooter. Yeah. People will argue that he shot poorly in the 12 games against really good teams as an 18-year-old. I don't care.
Yeah.
Everyone goes up and down in shooting. It's not like he played bad in every one of those games. That dude, I watched a lot of tape on him. Fucking shooter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You were like Michael Porter Jr. shooter.
Oh, no, right. Now we're talking.
Especially when they're 6'9".
Yeah.
And he knows how to play. SEC Player of the Year. It wasn't just because he shot the ball well.
Tall dudes who can shoot. That's my love language. Let's do it, man. Sign me up.
So one team will get him, but and one team will get Grady Dick, and I'm forgetting the name of the other guy who's a really good shooter.
There's a few, but hold on, Jarod. This is an important thing. The Denver Nuggets for the season had Michael Porter Jr., 6'10", really gifted. People have said he's the prettiest shooter. I didn't say that, but people have said
literally,
that.
what do you make, 44% or something?
He was incredible this season,
and absolutely could not shoot in the finals.
Couldn't throw it in the ocean.
It helps to have Jokic, but to his credit, and this goes to I think this is a good argument, guys, because in many cases we're all saying similar things and with smart things. MPJ and Dry, you and I talked about this. Henry was on the show too. MPJ found a game.
You got to do some
shit. When he couldn't make a shot, he impacted the game. And so this is where, if you're going to err on the side of choosing Anthony Black, better be able to defend like he likes to do and pass the ball the way he likes to do and have this guy's a triple-double. He's going to get triple-doubles in the league. It's going to take a couple of years probably. Yeah. He'll do it in the G League first, maybe, because where he goes. That dude can at least impact games other ways. And if the guy that isn't really good at anything but has the potential for all of it, that is really concerning to me. Pretty good at a lot of things, but can't shoot. Ooh, boy, that's scary to me.
Zaire Williams. To me, this is like a...
Speaking of Memphis.
Right?
I liked him.
Yeah. I mean,
I liked him coming out.
There's a lot of Zaire Williams in this draft.
Yeah.
Like, that's where we are. It's like, it potentially very fantastic, but not 100% certain on anything, right?
So you know who I'm thinking of? You mentioned really good at a lot of stuff, but like not just like, but like really good at a lot of stuff. One of David's favorite players, Scotty Barnes.
Yeah.
He's got to get better as a shooter. Otherwise, he's just a good player.
Which means, what is his ceiling then if he doesn't improve as a shooter? He's above average starter?
He's a starting small forward that may lose some playing time in the postseason if he can't make a shot because he's not even a great defender yet. He's only 21 years old.
Yeah. And where did they take him in the draft? He was in the lottery for sure.
Fourth.
So does that, to Henry's point, does that cripple them now? Well, you're bad. I'm not saying he's going to, but if he doesn't, does that cripple them now going forward?
Well, it will if they pay him a max deal,
which they probably.
Well, then he'll get it, right? That's the thing. Like, if they want him,
but see, to me, Henry, this is where your point is the smartest of all: is what you're paying these guys.
Yeah,
because that's what's killing these teams. They draft them early. They don't show the ability to shoot the way you hoped they would, and you still max them out on the come after failing for 3 years or 2 years plus when you have to make the decision. No, it's 3 years. Yeah, at the beginning of the third year. That's where you screw up. You max him out because you want to retain his rights in a sense and extend him so that you have a little discount, and he still doesn't figure out how to shoot. That's a problem.
That's a problem.
You're stuck on that money now, and he's not going to be. Again, it goes down to bonus wins. It's genius stat. You're not going to get there, man.
Yeah. The other one that really bugs me is, I'm sorry, Troy.
No, go ahead, Henry.
Like just so Luka and Trae Young.
Yeah.
Like, they're fine at 34% shooters, but they shoot so much.
They shoot
Trey's been better. Was terrible this year. Was he at 34 by year's end?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he actually got better. He was worse than that.
Yeah.
So remember, Steph had one bad year too.
He did.
Yeah, you're right.
A bad year for Steph is like 37.
37. They shoot a lot.
Yeah.
Like 8 to 10 a game.
That's a lot.
Like and you know who else shoots a lot and makes it is Damian Lillard.
Well, listen,
it's fine.
Henry's actually a favorite player. We'll see how long he's.
Listen, deservedly so. When you have jets like he does and can shoot like that. Tonight. But at least he's worth it until late in his career because when you can shoot like that, you're in anything.
Yeah.
We're talking about all these draft picks who can't shoot, right? But we didn't mention the two guys we mentioned Miller, who's at the top of the draft. We didn't mention Victor and Scoot, who were also at the top of the draft. Victor shot below 30% this year. I want to say from 20-something%. Scoot also did not shoot.
Was he really that low?
Yeah, it wasn't good. But
shot selection,
shot selection for sure, and something that Henry we talked about on the phone today, the corollary between free throw shooting and the ability to make threes. If you're 80% or better from the line, the idea is you're probably a pretty good 3-point shooter.
What was he?
Good fix. So Victor was 80% and Scoot was like 79.6. So I think,
was he that high? Wow.
Yeah. So I think that means maybe they'll be okay from three. Or Scoot was 76. I'm sorry, not 76.
Still pretty good.
Not 79.6. But yeah,
he's got a chance. And Victor should be with better shot selection, better than 20-something% from three this year, maybe. And he was very young. We have to say this about Victor. An agent said to me yesterday, "You guys may know more than me. I didn't really pay much attention when these guys are talking in the media, whatever. I've been watching film." But this is a quote from a very good agent, really good guy too. He said, "Talk about a guy with a God complex." And I thought, oh, this isn't going to go good. Because I've always liked Victor. We've talked on the show about what a polished young man in the press. But that was after the Scoot game. Before it went bonkers. And he's been turning down, out of $10 million whatever deals with gigantic American firms. I have no idea what he's been turning down in Europe or even doing in Europe. That to me did not bode well. And I've been paying attention to some. You see Brandon Miller talk about Paul George is his GOAT. I don't think that's so terrible.
No, I think he's like Paul George is like my kind of game. Like I want to play like Paul George.
And he never saw Michael Jordan play. He barely saw LeBron play. He never saw LeBron in his prime.
Right. You like
exactly. I agree with Henry on that too. That didn't bother me. But this is a time where you got to start this. As I told the player today, he's in the draft. He's got a chance to be drafted in the first round. I told him, like, dude, this league's going to punch you in the mouth a ton. Put your mouth guard in because you're going to get punched in the mouth. Tell your parents, I'm going to get punched in the mouth. They better be ready for it. They can't come save you. Your agent can't come save you. It's the best league in the world. And these mostly are bloodthirsty motherfuckers that want to kill you on a court, as they should, because you're trying to take their money. That's how it is. And that starts with your teammates. I told him, every time you go in your first rookie year, all those veterans see you as a teammate, but also they're trying to take my money because he's trying to get my playing time. That's how you get paid.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of the business. And so humility matters. And so I've heard from people inside Victor's team that his agents are amazing guys. They built an amazing team. I have no doubt. His story looks great. Victor, you're going to get punched in the mouth a bunch this year for sure. And start recognizing how hard this league is.
Well,
who was the one that came in saying they'll beat LeBron 1-on-1? Was it Matherin?
You're one of them.
Was that last year? Matherin said he beat LeBron.
I think Chet said he's going to be the best player in the league. Like,
you're right. Chet said that. And I thought Matherin said he could be. He said I have to see it. No one's ever beat me 1-on-1. I thought they don't talk that way after the first year.
I mean,
really don't.
Paolo
guys get more humble.
Paolo last year was like, oh, Kevin Durant just shoots really well. That's about all. And then after Durant, like, he was like, oh no, I guess pretty. That's
I do not remember that. That's
up close, you kind of see these things. But it's funny you mentioned that, David, because you wrote a piece about some of the big time names in the draft, and you said something outlandish at the top of your piece, which was
I wrote something.
Yeah, you sure did.
Yeah,
you said, knowing what you know about their careers right now, you would still draft Victor ahead of Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and Kevin Durant. Blasphemy.
Yeah, but I meant at this age.
Blasphemy.
So Jordan at his age, at Victor's age. And who was 19. The other one I said?
Durant and LeBron.
And, Durant.
And everybody who's ever played. If you listen to those
right.
three,
but
right?
Durant at 19 and LeBron at 19.
We're really good.
Unbelievable. Victor's a better prospect. I would take him before them. Yeah. Now, if I knew how Jordan ended up, 100% I'd take Jordan and LeBron and probably KD. I don't project Victor to be better than them when I know. But at this age, Victor's a better prospect.
All right, that softens it a little bit because Henry, I was like, one of them might be the great. Well, one of them is the greatest player ever.
I wasn't predicting that. I meant at this age. Remember, Jordan played 2 more years of college.
Sure
I may have taken Victor over Jordan after year 3 at North Carolina.
Ooh.
Victor is that. I didn't predict Michael Jordan to be the best ever.
Nobody did.
Nobody knew.
I was a Magic fan, so I liked Magic Johnson better anyway. But I mean, guys. The Pro A league in France is good. I've been watching tape in Pro A. There's NBA players in that league.
Is it better than NCAA?
Oh my God, yeah. Guys that destroyed it in college are like 6 men in Pro A France. Yeah, seriously.
Okay.
Or not destroyed in college, played very good in college. He's been really durable, which is, Henry for years been talking about that. That as worried as we might be about his lack of strength or whatever, guys played a lot games.
Henry, what'd you tweet about Victor? You quote tweeted an interview you did with Robin Roberts on GMA, and it was about putting on weight. And Victor said something that, no, why you telling me to bulk up? Here's what players should do.
Yeah, actually, honestly, so when Greg Oden was drafted, David was like, he should lose 60 pounds right away. Else he's never going to make it, right? And but Victor said it. Victor told Robin Roberts that everyone else should skinny up. Like, everyone tells them to bulk up, but they should skinny up. And I was like, skinny up! Like, it's perfect. Like,
not bad advice.
No, it's not bad advice.
Yeah, not bad advice.
And saying it on national TV with a sort of confident air before the draft, I was like, that's pretty cool. Like, that's a God complex at work.
That's delightful. That part to me is delightful.
Yeah.
I've not witnessed the God complex stuff. I just know what this agent said. And he's not really a hater.
He's a skinny God.
He's the skinny God. I love it. He's taking the Kevin Durant throne, right? Who also famously, as you know, people were like, this guy can't bench press 185 pounds.
Listen,
he can shoot a basketball. Who gives a shit?
Tim Duncan wasn't any kind of big muscle guy. Neither was Jordan, by the way. He was strong but lean as hell
until later when he bulked up. But look, I think Victor. What I've noticed about him is, and he said this. He was on JJ's Old Man to 3 podcast, and that kind of went viral a little bit because he said something that people love to hate on Twitter. So he's like, when you realize you're free in the universe, like people are like, oh my God, we have a
realize you're what?
When you're free in the universe, and people are like, oh my God, we have a Kyrie Irving on our hands, and then JJ joked he's found enlightenment at 19. Like, but it was a funny little bit, but it was more about JJ asking him, what is your totem? Like, what grounds you? Because the way I read it was JJ was so impressed with how mature and laser locked in focus he was. He was kind of just like, what, how are you like this? Is essentially what he was asking him. And Victor said, did that come out right? He's like, I know if I said it in French, people would get it, but my English, maybe you don't understand what I meant. Like,
that's a really important point too,
yes.
By the way. This is not his first language.
No!
Right? All of us dumbass Americans are lucky if we speak one, and we'd struggle with that.
Because he definitely should have said skinny down.
He should have said skinny down.
I mean, I'm really rooting for him.
Yeah.
I think he's great for the league. I really do.
For sure.
And we'll see what Pop does and the Spurs do.
And he wants to be like everyone knows all the pressure but like he's not courting, it's the wrong word, but he's not running from it. He's like, no matter what people say, I have bigger for myself. So they can already say I'm the one pick. I'm going to be all the
nothing wrong with that either.
Like I have big expectations for myself. Well, it doesn't matter what they say.
I never get this. Like what the fuck are you supposed to do with the pressure?
Right.
Like what are we even talking about? You're supposed to go to work and do your job.
Exactly
right?
Right.
Like that's like
and believe in
yourself.
yourself.
Is what? The pressure is like, no, the pressure is mostly in the imaginations of the fans, right? Like, oh my God, I care so much. It's like, yeah, the guy just still has to like catch the ball and pivot and look and find the man and hit the shot and then play the D.
And that's,
right?
and that's hard. That's hard enough.
Very hard.
It's hard.
Yeah. I remember listening to, reading one of John Feinstein's golf books, and the best golfers in the world are saying, I'm trying to make the 4-foot putt to win the championship of whatever. Meanwhile, I got my private jet I'm jumping on, whether I make it or not. Right. But the guy that's just trying to keep his card to stay on tour, those 4-foot putts are does my kid eat this week or not?
Right.
And I love that they recognize that. But what I also was thinking is these guys are so good at making the 4-foot putts. That's why they're trying to win the championship. They kind of know they can do that. Victor has to make all the 4-foot putts too, or he'll be hammered. We can get to whether or not he's good enough to carry a team to a championship. Can we let him just be a rookie? I'm going to let him be a rookie first, for sure. I watched him in Pro A France. Dude scored on him in the paint. It's not like we should think he's Rudy Gobert. He's, 19, 18?
19.
Yeah, come on. He's going to have to grow a little bit.
Let's also see how he looks this summer at FIBA World Cup.
He's playing the Summer League too.
Oh, is he doing both?
He said he is.
Oh.
He said a little bit.
A little bit, right?
Okay,
yeah, exactly what we
like
expect.
one game and then don't.
But he has more of an excuse to play one game because he is playing. Is he playing in the national team?
He's on the national team. Yeah. He's
like
on
the
big
senior
club.
team, not the under-19 team. Wow.
He's on the big club.
So he's playing against nothing but grown men pros.
That's what I'm saying. So I imagine Giannis and all those dudes are going to be playing for their country. So we're going to see him. I hope Jokic doesn't play for Serbia. Not because I don't want Serbia to do well, but just because, bro.
He needs a break.
Yeah, go play with your horses, man.
So this is something for TrueHoop to cover. I'm excited about. I didn't know we had basketball after a summer league. I didn't even think about it. Awesome.
We going to Turkey, Henry? Is that on the?
No, I'm happy to watch it on TV.
Yeah.
No Istanbul for us. We're not.
I love Turkey, but my Jewish friends have told me you can't go back. Yeah, it's not a safe place like it used to be.
All right. So
not that anyone knows who I am anyway.
I'll go.
Gas up the jet. Here we go.
Yeah.
David, something interesting also that you talked about in your piece when you were evaluating the Thompson twins in particular, the G League Ignite guys, is that you find it difficult to project how guys react, those guys in particular who played at those levels in competitive situations versus a player like a Brandon Miller or a Victor Wembanyama, because they played in actual leagues where there were actual stakes. Can you talk a little bit more about what you mean when you're talking about a player's competitive level in a game?
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked me that. And let me preface it with this. Henry knows I feel this way because he and I have talked about it. I do not think colleges have a monopoly on player development.
Yeah, you said that a bunch of times on this show.
Oh, yeah, I am rooting for Overtime Elite to figure out.
I don't even think they're good at it.
Mostly
by
not.
and large, right?
Listen, we're all talking about all these bad shooters. Most of them went to college.
Yeah.
They didn't solve that problem. Same as G League Ignite. I see a future for them. I did watch a lot of their games more so than Overtime Elite. There's a real issue there. In G League's case, there were kids playing against grown men, and they mostly knew they weren't going to win many games. They didn't, and it didn't matter if they did. They weren't. They knew before the season started they weren't likely to make the playoffs.
It's an exhibition season.
Mm-hmm. Every game's an exhibition. Scoot's best game was an exhibition game, right? against Victor. Overtime elite, it's even worse. It's a lot. I mean, the Thompson twins, you guys, Jarod knows. Henry, do you know how old the Thompson twins are?
No.
20 and a half. And they're playing against, I don't know, high school age kids, maybe some post-grad kids, which are maybe in their 19. Very few high-level prospects, but it's the same guys. And so I know of at least one program, but probably more than one, but I know of one that watches 3 hours of film after every game they play. 90 minutes on the team they just played, 90 minutes for the next opponent. That is common, not necessarily 3 hours, but lots of hours. Nothing like that's happening overtime elite. Now, they don't have to. The Thompson twins didn't have to grind every day to be able to outplay the people they played, not to mention all the other issues they might have faced. So it worried for me. I'm not witnessing these individual workouts. But by the way, I'm not sure they even did any individual workouts. Scoot didn't. And I don't think the Thompson twins did. I think Leonard Millard had.
Scoot did.
Scoot against someone else in competition?
No. But individual workouts he did.
Right. Yeah, big deal. 1-on-0. Leonard Miller had to ball out against people.
Yeah.
Like fighting for draft picks. I didn't see those workouts. I spoke to some people about him.
Yeah.
I love Leonard Miller.
Let's segue to my favorite topic.
Look at David when he talks
about Leonard Miller.
I can't believe he's not invited. The green room isn't guaranteed top 20. Right? There's 24 guys going. They're not guaranteed to go 1 through 24.
No.
There's going to be some surprises. Leonard Miller should be the first surprise. I don't know why he went to the Ignite. I don't know what his college options are. I have no idea. That dude can play. He's got a future. We talked about him some on Monday. And I know in workouts he competed, like really competed. There's value to that for me.
What do you like about him?
Well, my favorite thing we talked about on Monday is he was a guard that kept growing like a weed, according to the people I spoke to. And you don't forget that guard stuff. You're comfortable out in space, Henry, because you've been doing it. Anthony Davis had it. Joakim Noah had it. Two very special talents, right? One won two. They won 3 national titles in college, by the way, between the two of them. I forgot about that. AD uses his guard skills more as a defender. So agile, moving at 7 feet tall. And as a scorer, Joakim did it more as a passer defender. Joakim was switchable at a time when people weren't switching. You can remember, you go back and watch YouTube. There's some highlights of Joakim arms wide, defending all the space, running everywhere. That's what guards do. Yeah. We're getting better at that with big men, but they don't tend to do it when they're young. And so Leonard did that. Leonard is all arms and legs right now. And it's unfair to judge him negatively when he turns the ball over too much. He was doing this when he was 5'9", but now he's 6'10". Give him some. It takes years to catch up to that. So of all the guys going outside the lottery, that I would rate him number 1 of likely non-lottery picks to be the best player of the whole group. Victor being separate. Leonard Miller's got a huge upside. Someone's going to steal him for sure.
So you take him ahead of shot. I'm just going to say some names here.
Everyone outside of maybe the top 10 or so. Everyone.
So he would be ahead of Taylor Hendricks?
No. He's
head
like
of Jordan
number
Hawkins?
4. Yeah.
Head of Cason Wallace?
Yeah.
And Nick Smith?
Oh, yeah. He might go ahead. He might get a Nick Smith anyway.
Grady Dick?
So
yes.
Yeah. So I mean,
Thompson twins too.
I
remember I didn't see the Thompson twins in person. If I worked them out, I heard they're amazing guys, and so all that factors in. But I didn't get I don't get those inside things. Victor, I would take ahead of him. I would take a few. Anthony Black probably, but not definitely. Like he's got that kind of upside.
Kobe Buffkin. You like Kobe Buffkin?
I didn't really watch him. The Michigan kid. I didn't really watch him. I'm saving a couple guys to watch during summer league. I just got tired. Yeah. I don't get paid to be a draft picks person anymore.
That's pretty big though. Like that's like you're saying that you take Leonard Miller like 10, 11.
Or 7, 8, 9 maybe.
Yeah.
I like the kid from Jarris Walker a lot.
Oh, Jarris Walker.
But I don't know that I like him more than Leonard Miller, to be honest with you.
Ooh.
I don't know that I like him more than Leonard Miller.
They've been in the gym together for months.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
If I was in a gym, if I was, a team, I would have studied them very closely.
Yeah.
I don't know why Leonard Miller is being rated so poorly, other than maybe because he played for the G League Ignite. I wouldn't blame the kid for that.
I'll tell you something I like about Leonard Miller is like he's one of the nicest dudes in the world. He's at P3 a lot, but some very nice cars park outside P3, right? And some NBA players get out, or there's like vans that the agents have organized or whatever, right? But Leonard Miller and his brother was training in P3 this summer too. And it's like Honda, Uber rolls in and like just like, I mean, this is they look
big tall guy.
They look tall, but like getting out of the backseat of a Honda, it's like, oh my god, how'd you get in there?
We call it unfolding.
Yeah, they literally.
When you guys were little, when you were with your dad at a restaurant, did your dad scrunch the paper straw down to the
it's like,
and then drop water, have it expand?
Yeah.
That's Leonard Miller getting out of a small car.
Exactly right.
I've seen a lot of that.
Yeah. And you
How
know
did
that
he get
Uber
in
driver's like, damn, I got some really tall dudes in my car.
But you also, we're talking about him, Henry. You also really liked. I know you probably can't divulge some things, but there were some things you really liked about Leonard Miller.
I mean, look, everybody P3 like just personally loves him, and then there's
which is a good thing. That's a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. And then his like measurements, they have 7 types. I could talk for an hour right now. I'm trying not to. But basically, like he measures as the closest to like a super mover, right? Of among the bigs. Like he's not in this favorite category they have called kinematic mover, but the 2 bigs, like really legitimate, like 7-foot type dudes who've come the closest to that of all time, were actually both there together on the same day that I heard this, which was Jahlil Okafor and Leonard Miller. And like, and they were saying these body types come from machine learning, and really like the people at P3 were like, look, we should carve out a little special category because they're not really traditional bigs either, right? But the point is they're, as big and strong, and they have the what's the word? Anthropomorphic measurements of like a real NBA big, but move almost like a guard. Is not just any guard, move like a particularly efficient moving guard.
What was it, Henry? Was he not the one that was very interested in learning about this?
And he would go back
was
to the
my
back,
favorite
right?
part.
There's a little part in the back. There's a little desk with the computer screens, and like, and he would just, 2 straight summers, he just was the guy who's back there the most. Just like, well, how did I do this? And how about this? And blah blah. And there's a category called specimen, which is like Zion and whatever,
right.
and basically he declared to the staff that like his goal training there this summer. I don't know if we did it. Is like was to work out to get into that category. I thought was actually kind of cute. Was like. It's a weird. I don't know if there's any evidence this would make him better in the NBA. Maybe there is, but the staff pretty much embraced it. They're like, let's try to get him there. Let's try to.
It's really It's really attractive to me that he took that stuff seriously. Really valuable to me. Yeah.
And actually, I thought it meant something. He brought his brother. Like he came one summer, felt like he gained some stuff, and then he I don't know who he calls and how you pull the strings over, but then comes with his brother who's
how old's his brother?
I want to say he's
older.
I think
older. Okay.
Yeah.
No,
and not quite as tall, but Leonard Miller's particularly tall.
Not quite as tall. All right, guys, a couple quick things. So the Nuggets acquired a bunch of picks to get themselves back into the draft. The 29th and 32nd from the Pacers. And the thinking there is they're probably losing. Not probably. They're going to lose Jeff Green, although maybe they won't. Jeff Green.
A lot of teams done that before.
Bruce Brown, right? And they're going to say, all right,
Bruce Brown opted out.
He did opt out. Doesn't mean you're going to necessarily lose him, but they,
correct.
Because the way it works, he can get a mid-level exception somewhere else, but the Nuggets could re-sign him to a longer-term deal that pays him more on the back end and the front, whatever. He said he wants to stay. We'll see what all that means, but I think they're giving them options so that if they can't make a deal, they're going to draft someone like Christian Brown did last year, and Peyton Watson, who they hope this year coming up, can be someone who contributes, gets on the floor, and helps them come the NBA playoffs and finals, because that's what they need. I
would be surprised if they use all 3, though. I mean, if you look at the roster, they're not going to have 3.
They won't have 3. They won't have 3 spots.
I think they have now.
Well, the second round pick will be 2-way guys. Maybe the third 2-way now.
Yeah. But I will bet you that they're going to this is currency to be used, right? Maybe to get into the 20s.
Oh, so you're saying
someone that we want, right?
Okay.
Or
they have right. They can move up. They're in 29 now.
29, 30, 27. But to me, like getting 3 strikes me as an intermediate stop. To me, like they're going to get either like there's someone they want 17, whatever. They're going to try to get that, or it's like this summer they're going to trade,
for future,
right.
Yeah,
or for the player they want,
an existing player right now.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I'd be surprised if they end up with 3 rookies on next year.
I agree.
Yeah.
Also true. In Bucks land, Chris Middleton opted out of his deal, $40 million, and he will be an unrestricted free agent. For a player that's 31, 32, coming off one of his worst three-point shooting years, his second straight injury season, given the new CBA, you can't be paying that guy $40 million a year.
But could it be he'll do a 3 year, $60 million, something like that? I've not read anything about it.
Could be.
That was my guess, is that he'll just.
Does he want to help the team out and give him a haircut
right.
so they can.
Right.
Maybe.
And then he'll just have 2 or 3. He'll make 60 instead of 40 on the team he wants to be on, instead of playing 40. And then who knows where we are the next 2 years. Yeah. That's what I thought.
And if they're playing him at 20, then they can get what they need to retool around Giannis, and right. That remains to be seen. So it's all
Drew.
It's all interesting. Henry, I was thinking about this because we talked about the CBA. It seems that sweet spot for trades that used to be the $20 to $30 million range. It's like, all right, we can just move that guy. Well, where are you moving that guy to? There's no
There's no one
who can
no
take $20 to $30 million right now.
It's and actually I think that weirdly makes like Kyle Lowry's expiring deal, this kind of thing. Like it used valuable. To be like who wants to, and Kyle Lowry's pretty old and he makes a lot of money, but if you want to get somebody next summer, you got to get Kyle Lowry now, right? Like, this is going to be the drawdown, right? Like, it's going to be like this for a few years where it's just like, crap, we have all these big contracts.
Henry, tell our listeners why that is, because teams made this choice the last few years. They've made these choices.
Yeah, we're just heading into this luxury tax like hellhole plus the new CBA, right? And it's just the math has already been done, right? Like
they pay these guys.
It's maybe, what is it? 5 teams have real cap room. Is that what it is?
If that many.
I thought it was less than that, but you're not the first person to say 5. I thought it was
around.
Like 2 or 3.
I mean, a lot of summers it's 12.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's going to get worse before it gets better, right? So this is where I don't want to make this about the Blazers, but like,
but we're gonna talk Blazers.
You
anyway.
think that you can if you think that the Bradley Beal of the future, if you think like Dame can tail off a little bit in production and then still be traded, like
you're not paying attention.
You're not paying attention.
Let's talk, but Henry, let's talk about it. We can't not talk about it before tonight.
The elephant in the room. Have you said your goodbye to Damian already? Has that already happened? Have you said your goodbye?
I mean, he was flipping me the bird 2 years ago.
That's true. He was. That's true. That's true.
It hasn't been tender since then.
Well,
what do you think happens tonight, Henry, with them? Because now they're talking about taking Thompson at 3.
I think it's just constant smoke. It's just constant smoke. If the Blazers used it, in my opinion, if they used the number 3 pick on a young guy, Damian's out. Period. End of story.
What old guy are they drafting?
No. Unless they trade to get like a
got it.
Right.
Now I got it.
If a veteran's not coming in, he's not staying. That's my opinion on the situation.
What do you think?
So, I mean, I feel like they've been like, this is this feels like a family where they're kids and the parents aren't getting along, right? And what's I think a hugely underrated part of the story is the degree which each parent is going to make it seem like to the kids, like they're all in. Right? The kids are us.
Yep, the fans. That's right.
And like the Blazers have talked big about building around Dame for 2 years, and they've tanked both years, and they signed Jeremy Grant as like to a deal that's over. And like they have done nothing to build around Dame. Meanwhile, every press conference, every mailing to the season ticket holders, it's like, oh, we're building around Dame. It's like, no, you are not. You have not. You have made a youth movement plus Dame, and you already had a couple older players you haven't been able to get rid of yet. Meanwhile, Dame is on every podcast that will have him and sending his emissaries out to just like rattle the cages of the league and say, the time is now, get me the fuck out of here. Right. It hasn't been a trade demand per se, but when you hear what you're hearing, the way you're hearing, it's like he has crossed 50 lines, right? Like to keep if anyone who's been married, you're like, you don't go talking about who else you might date while you're married. Like, it's fucking obvious, right? Like, and he's been good at that for a very long time. And now he's bad at it. Now he's literally saying, like, you team has the 3rd overall pick, and like, I can't be seen with that loser. Like you can't talk like that and be considered in a marriage still, right? Like, it's over. So what I don't know though is like, will we persist with neither parent being willing to, like, it really feels like just a crisis of leadership now. Like somebody just has to be the adult and say, here's what's happening, right? Like that person hasn't been on the scene for 2 years and might not be for 2 more, which would be a sad, pathetic. This is the sham marriage model, right? We could end up in the sham marriage model. Like, I suspect that we should trust the team's actions louder than their words, and that they actually are planning to go young. And think about it. They hire Mike Schmitz. Like, you can't hire Mike Schmitz and have the third pick
and then go
and not use the pick.
Correct. That'd be pretty dumb. Pretty dumb.
Like, I think that they're going to use, and I suspect that they'll use the pick and the 23rd pick and the 40 whatever the pick, and get all of these youth, and then see what they can get for Dame.
Dame's going to the Heat.
Maybe. Oh, here's the other thing. Like, he and his agent had a lot of capital with the Blazers and used it on money.
Sure did.
We got this very rich extension. And so now he has that. Like, I forget the number now, but I'm going to guess it's something like $170 million he's due from his NBA income. Is he really a threat to sit out anywhere? Like, with that money on the line? Like, my hunch is that, correct me if I'm wrong, but just from where I'm sitting, like, they can trade him to the Magic or the Pistons,
do whatever they want.
Yep. Right? Like, and he will threaten, through his agent to sit out.
He won't be sitting out
or whatever. But like, and there'll be a big hullabaloo, and maybe it'll get GM fired. But the fact is, like, he's not going to sit out 3 years.
No, definitely
not. Now they signed that deal, his leverage to sit out has gone way down.
Listen. Henry's nailed this from the very beginning.
From the beginning.
2 years ago, Dame was talking to players and then denying everything, acting like everything was Camelot. Now he's talking publicly, right? But this is the guy that won't even piss off the Portland fans. See, we're suddenly expecting him to just not show up and get a salary each. I don't believe it. He'll go wherever he said. That doesn't mean you won't do him a solid. No one's suggesting Portland's going to try to screw Dame,
sure, of course.
Nor do we think they should. But they're going to do a great deal for Portland, and that's what the money's for on Damian's side.
These are jerks in big boy negotiations, right? Like, Aaron Gilbert
Very
and
true.
are not soft.
No,
right?
Not soft.
Like, this is all they do for a living is ratchet up pressure on the other one, right? Like, they're not holding hands and skipping into this next move here. Like,
it's totally true. It's totally true. When I talk to agents who are negotiating max deals, forget about the other deals. People think it's all
puppy dogs and ice cream.
No, the agents are amazed sometimes at the shit the teams pull up. Like, well, 3 times on Wednesdays in the summer he had ice cream, or he couldn't make a layup in one game in April. Like, really? That's why you're telling me he doesn't deserve a max deal when every metric has him as a top whatever player? But what Henry said is right. They're fucking jerks. Yeah. Whatever they have to do to save one penny for those billionaires, they'll do.
A lot of people getting mother effed in those negotiations. There's
walkouts. I had a young agent tell me his client, he had another agent in the room that was more of the leader. He could not believe that his partner said, "Okay, we're out of here," and they got up and they walked out of the room in negotiation with the team president, the vice president, GMs, and they just stormed right out. It was all planned. Basically, the agent said, no matter what, we're walking out because they're not going to pay us what we want. And anything less than exactly what we want, it's not just a number, it's a big thing. We're out of here. And the number was close. And the younger agent was like, hey, we're going to get paid here. Big boy said, we're out of here. Boop, they're gone.
Well, it seems to me like the state of play now is like, I've listened to a lot of Chris Haynes, who's a friend. I love Chris Haynes, great guy. I hired him at ESPN. I've met his wife. Like, he's a super solid guy. Chris is clearly very close to Dame, and I take his messaging about Dame to be essentially from Dame,
correct?
Right, as does everyone. And the last few days, his podcast interviews have been like entirely focused on where would be the right place for Dame, right?
Really?
So, and
wow,
and he, including Chris Haynes, saying Pat Riley must know something. He must think that this is the summer that Dame's really gonna push it or whatever.
Right.
Fuzzy language he used, right? Like, that's not Dame demanding a trade, but it feels to me like this effort. Why this topic?
Right.
This feels like Dame putting a lot of energy, Dame's camp, into choosing the destination when really he might not get to.
Right. Correct.
Right. This feels like the big worry is Orlando.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't want to go to the Magic
or Houston or whatever. Right. Like it seems like no, it's Pat Riley. It's got to be Pat Riley. It's like, it might be Pat Riley.
Maybe.
Might not be. Yeah.
No, this is
Portland gets to do what's best for Portland.
correct. Yeah. And listen,
Yeah.
Dame, you chose the money. And by the way, like, I am not. Players allowed to choose for whatever reason they want.
Absolutely.
I don't care. But this is what the money's for, right? So then, if Portland decides, no, a better deal is us sending you to Minnesota or wherever the hell, well, that's where you're going, bud. Because
he'd be good there.
Well, listen,
we did that.
I think we
Henry,
did.
I believe
I think
your
we did.
article.
Yeah.
That was
But not
him, Anthony.
it ended up with Anthony Edwards. That was
You ain't getting Anthony Edwards. That's not happening.
No, it was Dame. It was maybe Cat.
Oh, Cat for sure. Cat's definitely the.
No,
wait.
said-
You were the
No, I
one
told
telling
Henry
us
you'll
last
trade
week,
Cat.
Henry, that,
You
well,
would trade Cat.
Guy's mature now, so maybe Cat's mature. Now you're like, I don't want Cat. Get him out of here.
No,
no.
he would
I
be
just don't
traded.
want a
He'd be
27-year-old with a
traded.
big salary when you're
that's right.
rebuilding. Like, it's just
No,
it's
he
all
would.
wrong.
He would
Like,
be. It would be a third team. I said that Portland
Yeah.
doesn't need Cat. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Plus, if they have Scoot and Simons and Sharp, Cat can get like 4 shots a game. He would commit
he's
murder
lucky.
somewhere.
He would
Yeah.
commit murder.
if he's lucky.
Yeah.
He would commit murder.
Yeah.
We don't have a ball is the only thing. We're just
I'll
gonna
tell you
have
what.
to-
Stand around over there, like rebounding shit, like defend, you know.
I'm not trashing Portland's shooters, but if they get Scoot
Yeah.
and don't have Dame, they should invest a lot of money into an offensive rebounder because between Sharp and Simons and Scoot, man, there's gonna be a lot of missed shots.
It's gonna be a
A
lot
lot.
of
They could be good. They could be good one day. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
All 3 super talented, and Simons is a great shooter. But the other 2 cats are going to miss a lot of shots.
Brandon
telling
Miller
you
might
right
be
now.
a better fit.
Yeah,
But
I think Charlotte's
But
going to take
there's-
it. I wonder.
there's gonna be-
That'll be a good drama today.
there'll be that
Good drama.
that night, Henry, though, where if that, let's say that is the team, where, you know, that streaky hot night where like all 3 of them are just like Inferno
I mean,
NBA
they're-
Jam. It's going to be kind of crazy. They might score 170 points. Like, it might
Marvelous. Marvelous offensive talents.
It's a
Yeah.
little bit like the
They-
current Rockets, I guess.
be that. Yeah, in many ways, yeah.
No, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
You got to find a young Reggie Evans.
Yeah. Yeah.
Reggie
Scoop up all the
Evans.
offensive rebounds.
Man, guys who
What's
can
Reggie
rebound.
doing now?
Like, yeah, what's Reggie doing? You got any eligibility? You want to play? Can you get
That dude, I guarantee you, he's destroying some church league, some adult league on the offensive
Oh,
boards.
Reggie, we're just
Right, exactly right. Henry has played a lot of pickup. Nobody wants to mess with that
We're
dude on
just
the
playing
glass.
for fun, man. Come on.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember
No.
I used to play this one game, and after a game, I went to this. There was a new guy, big guy, and I was like, dude, I don't like. I had called. I don't know if I called fouls or just like called it out during the game, but like he was using his elbows in like frightening ways during the game. Right? It was like you hear like whistle by your eye, right? Which is like stuff that happens in the NBA all the time. But, like it doesn't happen in the church basement. We were literally in a church basement, and after the game, I'm like, dude, like when you pivot and come down like that or whatever, like, you know, like it's, you know, and I'm like explaining it to him, and he's just looking at me, and then this guy Mike, I played with forever. Mike's like he knows, you know, he's like he knows what he's doing. Like, oh, you're right. Like, okay, I'll stop talking.
By the way, he's smart for saying that. We say about the NBA all the time. It wasn't accidental.
No.
They know. I know. I'm aware of my elbow every time I roll over in bed at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
I don't want to hit my wife's or my dog's face.
Yeah.
Like we're all conscious of that, but we can't not say this about Reggie Evans. It's funny how we're talking about Reggie Evans. Forgive me, every listener who's turning it off
he's
for an
awesome.
and Judy can't kick us off anymore because we're over an hour. But when Udonis Haslam didn't get drafted, he fired his agent. His new agent was my friend Henry knows him really well, and he called me and said, "Hey, Seattle is one to bring Udonis to camp. They're going to bring 2 guys to try out for 1 spot, pretty much guaranteed. There's no guarantee they can make one of them make the team, but it's likely one of these 2 will make the team." And Udonis was just coming out of Florida. I'd never met Udonis other than just like at a gym somewhere because I knew his high school coach. And I said, "Who's the other guy?" And I was a big Udonis fan. And he said, "Reggie Evans." I said, "Oh, send Udonis to France." I swear to God, true story. I said, he said, "What?" He played in Iowa. She said Iowa wasn't Florida. I said, "I'm just telling you, to make a team as the last guy, Udonis is a big muscular guy that can't rebound. He can just score inside at 6'7". That doesn't work in the NBA. Reggie Evans is exactly what you want as your last guy.
Udonis
You
is going to
can't-
lose an eyeball. Like,
Literally.
Yeah. Well, that would have been war, by the way. Neither guy was soft.
yeah.
But I just thought, just in terms of just grimy motherfuck, I'm going to kill everyone.
That's Reggie Evans.
I thought Reggie had an advantage. Reggie was also super long. People don't realize that. He's a big burly guy, super long. Reggie made the team. I don't know what poor sap took Udonis' spot. UD went to France and then went to obviously Miami. So whoever got cut in place of Reggie, that'd be an interesting story to find out what those practices were like. Because I'm sure Reggie knew. I just got to beat out that motherfucker right there.
Easy.
Oh, it's on now. Like that dude. He lasted a long time and couldn't score outside 11 inches.
Yeah.
Gotta have skills, man.
But he was a monster, man. He was such a rebounder. Yeah, I love that guy.
All right, everybody. Enjoy the NBA draft tonight.
And join us
drama
after
after one.
Substack. We're doing a little live chat Substack thing. We're gonna mess around with it.
Well, how do we do it? How do we do that?
Oh, don't worry.
Maybe we won't do that on the podcast.
Yeah.
But
We'll tell you how we do it later.
TrueHoop.com.
Don't worry.
We'll brief you.
David will be on, and don't worry. And I'll be saying all kinds of outlandish things as well. It'll be great. We'll have a good time. All right, guys. Take care.